Hi, this is Liz Castro, computer book writer and fan of Catalonia. I wanted to talk to you with this gravelly voice that I have. I have a bit of a cold. I wanted to talk to you about Gerard Piqué, who's a famous Catalan soccer player. He plays for Barca. And about something that I saw on Twitter this morning, and about the importance of going to the source of your news, and especially to know who's telling you the story. So this morning I woke up and found this quote right here in my Twitter stream. It says, Gerard Piqué says, independence will make us weaker. It's better to stick together, better together. And this was written by a unionist politician. And I was curious because Gerard Piqué, he's a very famous footballer, soccer player from the football club of Barcelona, El Barça. His girlfriend is Shakira, so the two of them, they're sort of a power couple between sports and pop music. And he's kind of known for going around with a Catalan flag. He speaks Catalan. He gives interviews in Catalan. And, you don't want to depend on any sports person to give you your political views, but it's nice that if they do give you your political views, to quote them properly, in context. At least that's what I think. So I wanted to see where this came from and if he really said that. And let's look. So I went to the radio station that interviewed him. It's called RAC1. And here he is in the interview. This is him on the right. And on the left is the interviewer, Jordi Basté. And the radio station gives a kind of summary of the interview, but it's not a transcript. And you can see the political part down here. So what I did was I went and I listened to the interview, and it's kind of interesting what it says. And the part that's left out of that quote by the unionist is that Piqué said, "Al inici de tot," and that means at the beginning. So here's the translation into English. At the beginning, what independence will do is make Catalonia weaker, and it will make Spain weaker. Separation, anything that separates, makes the two lands in question weaker. And then here's the part that did not get quoted. From that point on, obviously, I don't know how it would go. Nobody knows. Those are kind of important things to add. You completely take his quote out of context. You miss that part. And at the end, he goes on and he says, me, truthfully, no, now, it's what I think. I mean, in the end, if not, it would be going back to an era that if people don't have the right to give their opinion or say what they feel, and man, it would be like going back to an earlier time that we're already done with. I think that evolution moves. We're looking forward. We shouldn't look backwards. So that's what Gerard Piqué said. And, it's up to you whether you want to follow what a footballer says, but certainly there's a lot of people who are influenced by him, and it's important to get the information right. Well, let's see exactly how that information was reported. We already saw how it was reported by the unionist politician in a Catalan newspaper called Ara. It's pretty independentist, I have to say. They do underline the fact that he said at the beginning. In La Vanguardia, they don't even talk about it. And they say, they quote Piqué as saying, my son will be Catalan because he's born in Catalonia. And in the article, they do talk about what he said about independence. El Periódico, which is it's a Catalan newspaper, it's a Barcelona newspaper, talks about Shakira and whether or not she's going to speak Catalan on her next record. I thought that was pretty funny since it's an article about Piqué's interview. El Mundo, which is a very unionist paper, has a totally different take. It says, with independence, the two lands would be very weakened, very debilitated. Yeah, that's not, the whole quote. Here we have Mediterráneo Digital, where they go the same route and they say independence will make us weaker. That's the stress. Noticias, Piqué says independence will make us weaker. And finally, we have La Voz Libre, which is really a terribly slanted newspaper. Not only do they say that quote him as saying independence will make us weaker, but then in the translation of the article into Spanish, they don't say at the beginning. They say in principle, which frankly I find quite distorted. So it's really important to remember where the news comes from. And so I wanted to show you one more thing, which is that Catalonia has been in the news, in the American and the English news, a lot lately. But look at who's talking about it and where they're coming from when you read these articles, because most of them come from Madrid. Giles Trimlett in Madrid for The Guardian. Here's Reuters. Catalonia says tax in place, blah blah. Carlos Ruano from Madrid. Christian Science Monitor. Andres Cala. And they're in Madrid. The Telegraph. This is from Ambrose Evans Pritchard. He's actually in the UK. This is the New York Times. Their main correspondent, Rafael Minder, is in Madrid. The Chicago Tribune. They get their AP line from Reuters. Excuse me, not AP, but Reuters. And they're based in Madrid. Irish Times has a Guy Hedgecoe, in Madrid. And The Economist, yay, has a correspondent right in Barcelona. And I have to admit that whether or not they're relying on correspondents in Barcelona has gotten slightly better in the last month or so, because they're realizing that the story that comes from Madrid comes from people who, one, don't know Catalonia as well, and two, have a vested interest in playing down the story of independence. So mostly what I want to say is listen to footballers if you want to, but make sure that you go straight to the horse's mouth and listen to the direct quotes, and be very wary, or at least very aware, of where the news is coming from and who's telling it.